guys, this is Dara Taylor. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to sew this corset dress. This is a big gown, but it has this snatched waist effect. This is a really simple dress to make. If you are interested on how I made it, keep watching. So guys, this is the fabric I'm going to be working with. It's called a silk and I got it for 2 yards. 2 yards was not enough, but I managed it. So the next thing I did was to fold my fabric into 4, just the way you're cutting a gown. I measured out my shoulder width and then I came below that and marked out my shoulder slant. I came down by 1 inch, it will form my shoulder slant. So from below that point I came down by 7 inches. That will be forming my armhole area. So after doing this, I'm just going to connect the lines together. I connected the lines together, giving it a 4-corner shape, and then after doing that, I'm just going to make a slope at this point, so that will form the original armhole area. So that was what I did over this point. I just made my line to be prominent by making it thick. So from this other point, I marked out my neck width, and it was 3 and 3 inches I'm working with. I always work with 3 and 3 inches. This dress is for me, so that's why I always use 3 and 3 inches. So then the neck width, the neck depth, sorry, for the back was 1 inches. I connected the lines together, and then for the front part, the neck depth is 5 inches. I just wanted it to be like a U-neck kind of thing, I guess. So then I made a 4-corner. I made it to form like a 4-corner. I connected it with the lines of that's the width, and this is what it was giving me, sort of 4-corner. Then I slanted it at this point. It's just the same way I did my armhole area. I slanted it at this point, you guys can see. So the next thing I'm just going to do is to measure out my waist length. My waist length is 14 inches. My hip length is 22 inches. You guys saw what I did. The next thing is to mark out my bust circumference. My bust circumference is divided by 4, so it is 31 divided by 4. That's my bust circumference. My waist circumference is giving me 7 inches after dividing it by 4, and then my hip circumference, I went ahead to attach it also. You should also repeat the same process when you are doing yours. And then I'm just going to go ahead to connect the lines together. I connected the lines together, starting from the bust to the waist, then from the waist to the hip area. And this is what we had it looking like, guys. So now this is the bottom part. The extreme bottom part is not going to be the same with the hip measurement, so you are just going to add in like 3 inches. If your hip circumference is 9, add it by 3 inches. That's going to give you what, 12 inches. So this bottom part is 12 inches, so that is just going to be very flowy at the bottom part. So remember, guys, do not make it the same measurements with your hip circumference. You should add about 3 to 4 inches. And then I went ahead to connect the lines together. I connected my lines together. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark out my allowance. I'm working with 2 inches for all sides. I place it at the waist, the bust and the hip area. I'm just going to go ahead to mark out my allowance area. I made sure to mark my allowance all through the point of the gown. You guys, adding allowance is really essential, because sometimes you might make the dress and it will not size you, so you just have to open it. So for this part, I'm just going to connect it together. This is my shoulder slant, my shoulder slope, sorry. So this is what it formed. The next thing I just went ahead to do was to cut all this out. So I just went ahead to cut out the back neck, the neckline for the back, and then I'm going to also cut out the neckline for the front. You guys can see I'm cutting it through the slope area. I ignore the 4-corner area, guys. So this is what it's looking like. And then I cut out my armhole area. So this is what it's looking like, guys, majorly after cutting all this out. So the next thing I did was to measure out my under bust. That is where my corset loop will start from. I marked it across. It was giving me what, 10.5 inches. The next thing we're going to do, from the point of the under bust, I'm going to measure out where I want the corset to stop, and that is 6 inches. So I went ahead to clean all these lines so that I would not confuse you guys. So from this point, remember, we now have 6 inches. I made an exterior at this point, and then this is the first part of my corset, and then I came down by 2 inches. Also I made an exterior, and that's the second part of my corset loop where I'm going to be joining. I came down by 2 inches also, and then I made an exterior at that point, and then that's the third part, and then this is the last part, guys. This is the last part of it. I already went ahead to make a rope, and it is all cut out into 3 inches. The length of this is 3 inches. You just have to make a very long rope. I folded it into 2, and the place where I marked my exterior, I placed it in between it. Remember, this is the back part, and then I pinned it. This fabric is turned into the wrong side. I folded it into 2, as you guys can see, and then I pinned it also for the second part where I marked my exterior. So the marking your exterior is like a guideline. I folded it into 2 also, and then the point, I placed it in between the point where I marked my exterior. This is the third rope we have made, that's the loop. I folded this part 1 into 2 also. The rope that is 3 inches in length, I placed it in between, and then I pinned it down. I'm repeating the same process, and then I folded this part into 2 also. That's this rope, I placed it in between. Remember, this is the wrong side of the fabric. I folded it into 2, placed it in between, and then I'll sew over this area, guys. I sewed over this area multiple times, and I turned it to the front. We now have 5 ropes, guys. This is easy. You guys can see what we did here. Remember, this is a big gown. So now I use my cotton bias. I'm going to use my cotton bias to give me a clean neck finishing. So that was why I used a cotton bias on it. So that's just what I'm doing. So guys, if at this point you are watching this video and you are finding value, you are enjoying what you are watching, please do support this channel by making sure you like and to subscribe to this channel. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. So this area that I'm just turning over is the area that I'm going to be sewing all around. These are the areas that I am going to be sewing all around. So I'm just going to sew it over, and this is what is looking like. It actually gave it a neat finishing. This is what it's looking like. So now the next thing we're just going to do is to fold the bottom part. I folded the bottom part of it. So now for the sleeve part, I folded it into 2. It's folded into 2, and then I marked out. I just made sure it is as equal as possible. So that's what I did. I carved out my sleeve at this point. I carved it and then carved it out, and then I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. Then after cutting it, I'm just going to make sure that I notched it. I notch it to get my center point. You know, it's really essential to do that. I notched it to get my center point. So the next thing I did was to measure out my upper round sleeve. I marked it, and to measure out my lower round sleeve. So this part is the part that are going to be like a gathers part. You guys can saw the hand that we did that time, and then I just made sure it is as extra as possible. This is the length we are working with, 8 inches, and the wideness is 7 inches. So now the next thing we're just going to do, look at the gathers part that we're going to be attaching. So I just attached it together. I'm going to attach it together. So that's what I did. So for this band, the band is, the wideness is 5 inches. The wideness is 5 inches, and then I just cut it out. I cut everything out. The wideness is 5 inches, and then I opened it up. Guys, and then I'm going to be attaching it together. I sewed over this area first. So after attaching the gathers with the sleeve, this is what it's looking like, guys. And then I'm going to be attaching these gathers to the hand also. I would attach it to the hand also, and this is what it gave me after attaching. The next thing, I folded it into 2, and I'm just going to sew all around the area. My hand is really slim, so that's why it's looking so small, right? I turned it to the front part, and this is what the hand is giving me, guys. This is what the hand is actually giving me. The next thing, I repeated the same process at the other sleeve, and then I'm just going to join it both together. So guys, this is the end of the video. I just decided to show you guys the look again. Thank you so much for watching, and also for subscribing to this channel. See you guys on my next video. Thank you so much.